In the last countdown, I said that if you guys blew it up with 100 likes, then I would instantly get to work on the next one. Well, you guys did just that in less than an hour. Then you guys one-upped that by another 100 with the next hour. But admittingly, I accidentally skipped these last two chaps that were supposed to be in the last show, and I do apologize for that. But now it's time for me to introduce to you the next countdown that has been requested ever since I put together the beloved Polar Star DMR count. Ever since then, someone has always asked for this show in the comments, and the comments in the last video were the last nails in the coffin. So, here we go. Airsoft sniping has always been a highlight in our hobby, either it being as we all love to see that one BB fly into an unsuspecting player, or because we can respect the patience and talent that it takes to put together a solid rifle that can outrange even the most arrogant players. So for today, we'll be taking a look at just some of the builds submitted from all around the world in a countdown that's way overdue. It's time for another USAirsoft original. This is the top 5 Airsoft sniper builds. Wondering why we're starting off at number 6? Well, I'm feeling pretty excited to include an extra rifle. So, hailing from a faraway land on the other side of the globe would be our first build from Indonesia. This would be Geoffrey with his classic Tokimuri AWS L96. This simple but good looking rifle will be equipped with a PDI outer barrel, a PDI V-trigger, a PDI cylinder set and piston, a PDI spring, Bushnell scope, and a KM blue hop-up. However, this build has changed quite a bit over the years, which brought up the cost to around $1,000. Now, I wasn't able to get a whole lot of information from Geoffrey due to our language barrier between us, but he did say that playing in Indonesia is like a big family day out, meaning everyone cares for each other and tries to play safely and honestly, as I would assume. And with this proven Marie, I'm sure he's able to get all sorts of players guessing where they were even hit from. Now for number 5, we have a tried and true rifle with a bit of a modern look. Coming out from Charleston, South Carolina, we have Dustin with his G&G Top Tech M14 EBR. Cerakoted with burnt bronze accents, this EBR has been upgraded with the Lonix hop-up chamber, a Promi 455mm inner barrel, a Firefly flat hop-up nub, and an awesome Wolverine Hydra HPA kit, while on the outside a Smith Enterprise suppressor, a Harris bipod, a Magpul MOE grip, and an aimpoint or LCAN swap places, which all in all brought the price tag of this G&G to about $1,500. Now from Battlefield to the Navy SEALs, Dustin thinks the M14 is iconic, and he tried to make his as realistic as he could by even following the same trademarks and brands that the real EBR is normally graced with. And I can say that I'm not an M14 fan, as I own 2 myself. And thanks to the adjustability of the Hydra, Dustin can go to the legal max of FPS so he can make sure that his opponents call those long-range hits. Next up at number 4 and 3 would be the last of our semi-auto rifles on this show, but we have many more bolt action rifles like this VSR-10 from Andrew that's been hooked up with the Model Works stock, an MB556 muzzle brake, a Leopold 40mm scope, all PDI internals, a VFC Zero trigger, a Laylax bolt handle and end cap, and of course Andrew's custom camo. Or this other great Tokimuri VSR G-Spec from Wayne of the UK that has been modded with another Zero trigger, piston and Laylax Teflon cylinder, a Laylax 9-ball hop-up rubber, an M150 spring, rotary fabric tape, and of course his GoPro and camcorder on top for those great ScoCam YouTube videos. But back on the number 4, we have another South Carolina sniper. This would be Luke with his Tokimuri Classic PSG-1. This would be the second PSG that we've received for a countdown, and what a way to enter, as this rifle is seen to many as a collector's piece. However, Luke here does show it that doesn't mean that it's not suited for some action on the field. Running at 443 feet per second or 3.63 joules with a 40-gram BB, this rifle has been upgraded with a G&G magnesium receiver, a G&G wrist kit, a G&G scope rail, a King Arms lightweight suppressor, and a 4x16 by 50mm scope on the outside, which in on itself took many years of hunting and searching, as many of those said G&G parts are long discontinued relics of Airsoft's past. But the internal work would be where the real blood, sweat, and tears would be poured into. Running on 11.1 volt 1800 mAh 30C LiPo battery, this TM will be refitted with the BTC Chimera with a custom wiring harness, and a lot of Systema parts, like a Systema Magnum motor, a PSG-1 gear set, a Systema piston, a Systema PSG-1 bore-up kit, a new Systema 400% spring, a V4 spring guide, a TGS steel anti-reversal latch, a polysteel tappet plate with a custom steel cut-off lever, a PDI chamber block, and a Prometheus 590mm 6.03 R-hopped inner barrel, while the stock was modified to house larger batteries and the blowback function was disabled. Now this did put a nice dent in Luke's pocketbook, as an $1,800 check was called for to make this project come together. But that's what I really like to see in my personal opinion, making your dream gun worthy of heavy play no matter where you have to start from. From a creaky and bendy TM to a solid performer, a dedicated builder can pull it off, as long as they have about $2,000 lying around. But even the stock PSGs look good. After all, it is an H&K rifle, and not many of those look bad anyway, no matter if they have some age on them or they're just making a splash in the world now. It seems they'll always get a little appreciation from everyone. Lurking behind the graphics of number 3 would be a submitter from the land of one of my coaches. All the way from Scotland, we have Liam with his stunning SEMA SVD. Easily scoring the best photos of the countdown, the SEMA was built on many spare parts since Liam does not believe in throwing anything out of storage. But if he did, then I guess we wouldn't be looking at this piece right now. Running a strong 14.8 volt LiPo battery, this SVD shell hides a Prometheus 550mm 6.03 barrel, a garter clear hop-up rubber of Liam's own self-leveling design, and a gearbox built by a good friend who is a local tech wizard. The stock was replaced with a one-off hand machine stock made by the legendary Candyman of the UK Monsters site, which will be linked in the description of this video. A Zynico PK3 grip was also pinned to the receiver, and the foreguard was replaced by the Mad Bull TRX rail. Liam will also place a Vietnam War era PVS-2 night vision scope on top of this SVD whenever the cameras are around, but without this pricey detail, the price of this build will come out to about $700. Now, isn't it a miracle of what spare parts can accomplish? It's a bit funny because we've seen a lot of these types of builds on this show before, and they always come out looking good. And of course this rifle is no exception, and thus far this would be my favorite SVD I've seen. But now, before we get into our runner-ups build, we have a special little bit since so many people submitted so many different Barretts. Yep, they got their own segment, but hey, they're still pretty great to see, and any Barrett will get some attention when they hit the field. And I've been told quite a bit of times that they make for great HPA guns since they have so much room on the inside to work with. But what do you guys think about Barretts when you see them? Are they overrated, or are they a great base for a sniper platform in Airsoft? Let your word be heard, because the owners are watching this video, and they want to know what you guys have to say. Well, so far we've had 2 South Carolina builders, and now we're about to have 2 from Indonesia in this countdown. Yep, because at number 2 we have Adam from a land far away with his beautiful JG Bar 10. Now I can already hear you guys commenting on that stock. Well, it would be from Taring Carvings, who supplies his work to those who are looking for a great custom carved stock on any of their rifles. And you're going to hear about this group again in a little bit. But besides a neatly done stock, this rifle has not been touched very much at all. Of course, it has a 6.01 Type bore and an M170 spring and an M3 bipod. But that would be pretty much it, which does keep the cost down to about $250. The handmade stock alone threw the submission poll up in flames, scoring this rifle a great amount of likes. And Adam told me that playing in Indonesia is pretty awesome, and it's much like how it is here in the US, besides one thing. There would be no legal airsoft stores in the country. He told me it's a gray area. Airsoft is illegal to sell, but they can play as long as law enforcement is involved. Now that's a bit of a scary thought, and makes me really appreciate what we have here. I live in the United States, Texas to be more exact, the type of place where you can either travel down the street and buy an airsoft gun or gear and enjoy it safely, or you can order any of my gear from around the world on the web. So be sure you think about that whenever you hear airsoft is in a court case. But with all the seriousness out of the way, I'd like to thank Adam for submitting this art piece, but before we get into the number 1 spot, let's quickly check out what almost made this show with the what almost made the countdown spot. These are builds that I wanted to show off that either weren't exactly what we were looking for, or just fell short of a spot, but are just too good looking to forget about. Any of these builds can submit again for a future countdown, and I hope to see them again in a later submission pool. But with this out of the way, we can continue. So far, we've seen some pretty sick builds from the also reliable classic bolt actions to the dependable and quick semi-autos, and even some heavy and expensive setups that we normally don't see in the wild. But there's still one build to be revealed, behind number 1. So without any further delay, from the country of Denmark, we would have Heinrich with his L96. Heinrich really blew up the polls with this rifle, and he even PM'd me to make sure that I had seen it. And I think we can all admit that this is a mantelpiece for sure. I mean, it's almost too good looking to go out there to the field with. But it all started with the help of Adam of Taring Carvings to make this artistic stock a staple of Heinrich's collection, which would include many different birds and Viking insignia as to the owner's wishes. Then with the help of a friend, Heinrich completed what is called a TDC mod, and added a suppressor as to cover the 5cm extended Prometheus 550mm 6.03 inner barrel. Besides that, the inside was completely redone with a Laylax PP-S20 trigger, a Laylax PP-S20 chamber and 0 air seal, PDI barrel spacers, a PDI cylinder, an Airsoft Pro cylinder head, a 9mm spring guide, a G&G green bucking, and a garter piston head. This work of art really stands out with these mods and the obvious addition that holds it all together. And that's exactly what Heinrich loves about it, even though his friends are in fear that he'll probably end up smashing it one day on the field. Which would kinda suck because this thing does cost $960 US. Now I hope you agree with where this build stands and all the other rifles we've showcased here today, but be sure to give Heinrich and all our other builders some love with the comments down below. And also be sure to share some ideas you may have for a countdown or like a comment up so I can see what's popular. But if you like this one, then let's go ahead and try to break 300 likes since you've shown me that 200 is no challenge. Then I'll immediately get started on that next countdown, which will end up being reacted to by Airsoft Owl. I'd also like to thank you all for 20,000 subscribers, which we'll be hitting in the next few days if we haven't already. And I'd also like to shout out House Gamers, as I just found his channel and I can tell that will be launching off pretty quickly as his editing skills and his hits are pretty spot on. A link to that channel will be in the description with all the other juicy links, like the link to Beats by Neves, who supplies these shows with his free music that you might find useful for your videos. And if you like any of his music, then drop a comment down below and say that I sent you there. But until that next video drops, guys, from the amazing city of San Antonio, this has been Scott Slade Hollenbeck. Now be sure to see you all next time.